Trudeau's folly could cost our troops dearly. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. It's one thing to make a rash campaign promise not to do something that your predecessor did. It's another thing to follow through with that promise when you know that it could damage the capabilities and the integrity of our military. But that is what Justin Trudeau is doing. Now he's being warned once again. But this time the warning's not coming from political opponents. It's not coming from pundits like me. But it's coming instead from a baker's dozen of retired senior military personnel, including some like General Paul Manson, who held senior Air Force roles while Trudeau's father was Prime Minister. General Manson and 12 other retired Air Force generals have written to Trudeau to warn him and his defense minister that they're making a mistake in buying 18 Super Hornets as a so-called stopgap measure, while picking a permanent replacement for the aging CF-18 fighter jets. In their open letter, they write, "As former commanders of Canada's Air Force, we respectfully but urgently ask that your government not proceed with the plan to purchase a fleet of Super Hornet aircraft as an interim measure pending the eventual replacements of our venerable CF-18 fighters. It is our firm belief that the interim strategy is ill-advised, costly, unnecessary. Most important, it would significantly impair the Royal Canadian Air Force for years to come and ultimately damage the nation's defense posture." Now, the Liberals long opposed buying the F-35, the latest generation of fighter jet, but they said that Canada needs to buy the Super Hornet, the 18 of them, so we can fulfill our NATO and NORAD commitments concurrently. In the letter, General Manson, who was commander of the Air Force in 1983 under Pierre Trudeau and was Chief of Defense Staff from 1986 to 1989 under Brian Mulroney, well, he and the other generals called BS on Trudeau's claim. Your government's newly created policy calling for the Royal Canadian Air Force to meet its NATO and NORAD treaty commitments concurrently does not reflect a real and sudden change in the strategic situation. In our experience, it has been decades since Canada had sufficient aircraft to meet all of our commitments simultaneously. Over the years, the Air Force, by judiciously balancing strategic risk and available resources, has managed operational contributions reasonably well. Did you get that? It's been decades since we've been able to meet both duties simultaneously. I don't think buying 18 new jets while the CF-18s are slowly being retired is going to change that. In fact, these 13 generals all say this interim purchase is just going to complicate things. Maintenance needs for two competing fleets will add to cost and strain rather than solve any real problems. The letter says it would be necessary to recruit, train, and qualify several hundred new technicians and dozens of pilots. Recent experience indicates that the RCAF would face difficulty in achieving this. It can take 4 to 5 years from recruitment to produce fully trained, operationally ready pilots and specialists for advanced fighter aircraft. We foresee that bringing in an interim project would create problems of this kind. Now, the generals recommend that if Trudeau and company want to go ahead with buying planes in an interim manner, well, they could purchase what are called legacy Hornets, essentially used planes being retired by the U.S. and other allies that are almost identical to the current CF-18s that wouldn't require additional training or a separate maintenance program. Now, Trudeau had to know about this option, but of course, he rejected it. Now, you might recall that Trudeau and the Liberals, they promised to run a government that made decisions based on evidence, that listened to the experts. I couldn't tell you how many times I heard that claim. I started to wonder during the last election, why bother voting for MPs? Let's just put experts in charge of everything. That's what Trudeau was essentially saying. But on this file, Trudeau and the Liberals, they're not listening to the experts. They're not listening to the Air Force staff that have spent years on this file that are telling them the F-35 is still the plane Canada should be getting. They aren't listening to the experts like these retired generals that say buying the Super Hornets is a mistake. What they've done is, without any evidence, stated clearly and unequivocally that they won't buy the F-35 even through an open competition. And without any bids, they sole sourced a contract to Boeing to buy the 18 Super Hornets. No experts, no evidence, no facts, just a determination to do the opposite of Stephen Harper and the Conservatives, even if it hobbles the ability of our Air Force for years to come. Now, this is reckless policymaking from a man who claimed he would do the opposite. We've been calling on Justin Trudeau to give our troops the equipment they deserve for some time now. The generals, they're now joining the call. Will you join the call? If you haven't done so already, I invite you to sign our petition at equipourtroops.ca. That's equipourtroops.ca. Demand the Prime Minister do the right thing for the men and women we send into harm's way. And please share this video on Facebook, on Twitter, or by any other means you can to spread the word. The petition site again, equipourtroops.ca. Go sign now. If you like the video you just watched, click here to subscribe. Never miss a Rebel video again.